Finding older versions of Ohio statutes. Sometimes when you're researching a legal issue, what's going to apply is an older version of an Ohio statute. For example, in a criminal case, the crime may have occurred before the current version of the Ohio statute became in force. So you're going to have to find whatever the older version is and apply that to your client. This especially happens if it's a case on appeal, because some time has passed, the case has gone through the trial process and the appeal process, that could take several years. So you might need to find an older version of that criminal statute. And the same thing happens in civil causes of action too. The cause of action may have arisen before the effective date of the statute currently in force. So you need to find the older version of the statute. Well, how do you do that? First, some background information. In Ohio, a bill is passed by the Ohio legislature, and then when that bill is enacted, when both houses of the legislature approve it and the governor signs it, or if the governor's veto is overridden, it becomes an act, which is known as a session law. You can find session laws in various places. They're arranged chronologically as those acts are passed, in contrast with the Ohio Revised Code, which is arranged topically. So your session laws for Ohio can be found on Lexis and Westlaw, but they only go back so far, maybe to about 1997. Session laws can be found on Hannah News Service database, and also online on the free web on the General Assembly's website. But the General Assembly's website, the acts only go back to 1997. If you need older versions of acts, of session laws, where you should look is Hein Online. There's a database of session laws on Hein Online, and also the print Laws of Ohio, which is in the law library. Here, for example, is a recent act that was passed by the 130th General Assembly concerning human trafficking. We see that this particular act amends several sections of the Ohio Revised Code. It amends sections dealing with the juvenile law title, with the criminal code, and with education law. So it amends sections in various titles. And it also enacts new sections, also in different titles of the Ohio Revised Code. So what needs to happen is the Ohio Revised Code is arranged by topic. So whoever compiles the Ohio Revised Code, for example, Lexis or Westlaw, or this one that's online, they have to update the various sections of the Ohio Revised Code to conform them to the changes made by this new piece of legislation. So there's going to be amendments made to Title 21, Title 29, and Title 33 for this particular act concerning human trafficking. So then what happens is, if you pull up a particular statute on Lexis or Westlaw that was amended by that piece of legislation, okay, so I pull up my statute. If I scroll down to the end, I see on Westlaw what they call a credit section. In Lexis, they call it the history section. And it tells me that this version of the Ohio Revised Code section in Westlaw has in fact incorporated that latest piece of legislation, your House Bill 130, which was effective in 2014. So say the offense of human trafficking that you're concerned with occurred on January 1st, 2013. So this most current version of the statute is not going to apply to that case. You're going to want to look at the older version of the statute. So how can you do that? Do that in Westlaw simply by clicking on this session law that is listed in the credit section. And the same thing is true over on Lexis. So you could see the changes that were made. If I go over, this is my session law, so if I could simply do Control F, or I could use the little magnifying glass to find the section that I want, 2905.32. and I keep going until I get to that actual section. Here it is, and you can see what was deleted by the crossed out lines and what was added to this section is highlighted. Okay, and the same, you can do the same thing also on Lexis. What happens if the particular session law you want, these are all pretty recent, so these are all linked up. What if the particular session law that you want is older, and there's no link here for it on Lexis or Westlaw? For example, if I go to Ohio Revised Code 2903.03, section dealing with voluntary manslaughter. Say I want this version that was passed in 1982. How would I find that? What I could do is I could go to a database of session laws, namely Hein Online. So from my library homepage, I could go to Hein Online. This is available off campus. You just need to enter your name, CSU ID number, and your scholar PIN. So I go here and I could scroll down to the Session Laws Library. And I can look for Ohio. And then I could go to 1982 and look for that particular, this was House Bill 269. So that's how I can find the text of that. Another thing that you could do on Lexis and Westlaw, if I just go to Ohio Revised Code on Westlaw and pull it up, they do have older versions of the Ohio statutes. Here they have Ohio statutes annotated historical, so I could click on that, but it only goes back to 1993. So that is another way of finding old Ohio Revised Code sections, but it only goes back so far. On Lexis, if you pull up a particular Ohio Revised Code section, such as this, Ohio Revised Code 2903.03, you can access archived versions of this code section here. But again, it only goes back so far. In Lexis, I believe it goes back to 96. Yeah, 96. So if you want older than that, you're going to have to go over to Hein Online. And that's how you can find older sections of the Ohio Revised Code.